Hey everyone. Again, this is Melissa Anger. I have 7 o'clock, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you again for joining us tonight for the tennis preseason webinar. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Melissa Anger. I am the new staff lead for tennis. I've been with Special Olympics for a few years now, but this will be my first year of tennis, so please bear with me. I'm still learning, but it was going to be a fun year. I'm very excited. So as I said, this is the preseason webinar. We'll go ahead and get started. Our competition director this year, we're about 99% sure so far, is going to be Abby Landis. She works for JTCC out in College Park, Maryland. So she has been getting really involved doing some clinics, and she was great with our Team Maryland athletes. So fingers crossed, she's able to still come to Fall Fest and help run that for us as our competition director. Before we get started, actually, for those of you that have been on webinars, Steve Bennett is on the line, and he will be our moderator for tonight. So Steve will be able to look to see if anyone has their hands raised or answer any typed in questions that you may have during the webinar. So if you have a question and you want to answer it there, Steve will do his best to answer it, or he will stop me and ask it for the group if he thinks it's a question that should be answered by, or everyone should hear the question. Or we can wait till the very end and we can do the raise your hand and see how that goes. So thank you, Steve Bennett, for being on the line as our moderator for tonight.
You're welcome.
So tonight we're going to go over some dates and deadlines, review some tennis-specific information, some rules and reminders. I'm not going to go too much into the administrative and paperwork. We have all returning coaches for tennis as far as I know. I'm going to send out the slides later. I'm not going to spend 20 minutes to go through all the paperwork and all of that. So, but we will kind of glance through that a little bit towards the end. So the 2018 fall sports registration deadline. The training registration deadline is September 10th, and this is when you have to get all names of anyone that's training, even if they're just practicing and not going to Fall Fest with tennis, they still need to be put into GMS as training. For the most part, you would send your list to your area director or your GMS person for your county, and they'll enter it. Each county is a little different, so work with your area director to figure out how that works for your area. But by September 10th, everyone that's training with you, coaches, volunteers, unified partners, athletes, that's training in tennis for the season must be in GMS by this date. Okay? To make it a little easy for you guys, on the 10th, we're going to do the team intent forms again. Melissa Kelly, I think, did it the last year or two, just so we have an idea of how many people per level we have, and so that we can kind of get a heads up ahead of time. And then I'll send out a list of how many singles, doubles, traditional and unified doubles we have per level, so that you all have an idea ahead of time. But I'd like that by the 10th as well. And I don't know if Melissa Kelly did this in the past. I know everyone has to do an individual rating sheet, which we will go through in a little bit. I would actually like a copy of all of them. So if you can just scan them and send them to me, just so I have them, and I can double check that with the rosters to make sure someone accidentally didn't get missed from the training roster, because, I mean, it happens. We all make mistakes. It happens. So this way it's just kind of an extra double check that I can go through and check all that for you. September 20th is going to be the last date for missing paperwork to be submitted. So that means every volunteer, coach, unified partner, and athlete has to either have their Class A volunteer, medical, good through October 20th. If it's not, You have to get a new one in by this date. Okay? If it expires October 19th, you have to get a new one in by this date or they are not eligible. You cannot wait until when it expires, because then it's going to be too late. No one should be participating for any reason without a valid medical or volunteer application. There is absolutely no reason anyone should participate without this. This is something you need to check ahead of time, and no one should be stepping onto that tennis court without a valid medical or volunteer application if they're a volunteer unified partner. This is huge. It's a huge liability. We don't need this risk, okay? Make sure everyone has valid medicals. If you have questions of when things expire, talk to your area director. They'll be able to give you dates, okay? If you're having trouble with that and they can't get it to you, reach out to me and I can look stuff up too. But please, please, please do not let anyone participate without a valid medical or volunteer application. Competition registration deadline, October 4th. So this is everyone that will be participating at Summer Games. I'm sorry, Fall Fest. Wow, sorry. This is everyone that's participating at Fall Fest with their levels. So you'll be putting everyone into their levels, into GMS, whether they're in singles or doubles. That needs to go into GMS. As I mentioned with the training deadline, athletes can train in multiple sports at Fall Fest, but they can only compete in one. So you have someone that is training in powerlifting and tennis, but at Fall Fest, they're competing in powerlifting. They should not be on your competition roster. Okay, this is just a final roster of everyone that will be attending Fall Fest. If you have athletes that are just training through the season and not participating in Fall Fest, they should not be on the competition roster as well. Okay, these are only people that will be participating at Fall Fest. As I mentioned with the rating form, the tennis rating form, this is what it looks like. I will send a copy of this with the slides when I send the slides out tomorrow and the recording of this webinar. I'll send this and attach it as well so that you have a copy of it. Please complete this for every single person. Athlete and unified partner that will be playing needs this completed, okay? Huge thing, please do not use the rating scale that's included in the tennis rules. We, as Special Olympics Maryland, use a different rating system. It's just a little easier to read, a little easier to understand, and we use this. This is one of the forms that needs to be sent to me by September 10th so that I have them, and I can compare it with the training rosters to ensure that everyone is properly registered. Some more about eligibility. Athletes and partners must compete in a minimum of 2 sanctioned competitions in order to be eligible to compete at Fall Fest. So this is one competition that's sanctioned plus the required qualifier competition that is, I'll go over in a little bit. But each player must compete in 2 competitions prior to Fall Fest. Okay, so if they get to a qualifier and you see that they're in the wrong level, okay, that qualifier does not count for that level, for that athlete. They must compete in 2 competitions in the level they will be competing at Fall Fest. If they do not, then they are not eligible to come to Fall Fest. Okay, this is a big thing. So they must compete in 2 competitions prior to Fall Fest in the level they will be competing at during Fall Fest. Okay, on August 26th, we're JTCC, which is the Junior Tennis Champion Center. I hope I got that right. They will be hosting a preseason kind of warm-up clinic type deal. This is a great opportunity to send your teams out there. Anyone that's going to be competing, send them there, because this is a great opportunity in the preseason to get them in the correct level before the season really starts, before the first competition starts. So on Sunday, August 26th, come out to JTCC. I sent an email about this earlier in July. That's what this is. If you don't register for it and you come, that's fine. Get your athletes there. It's going to be 1 to 4. They get to work with some pros. They're going to play some matches. It's a great way for you as a coach to see what level they should be in, and use the pros at JTCC to figure out what level they should be in. There's going to be athletes from all over the state there, so you can get that extra competition. Does not count as a qualifier, sanction competition, but it's a great way, a great preseason before the competitions start later in the season, to figure out what level the athlete should be in. Okay? I strongly recommend coming out on the 26th. We're also having one on the 12th. That's more of a clinic and coaches training for the 26th, Sunday, August 26th. And I'll put this in my follow-up email. Get your athletes there. Okay? Get as many as you can there. If you can come, if you can send an assistant coach, someone to see what level they should be participating in, that is the way to do it. Okay, so far this season, right now, we have 3 competitions scheduled. The first one is Saturday, September 15th in Howard County. They're going to be offering level 1, and it's going to be the required qualifier for level 5. So every level 5 athlete and unified partner, doubles, singles, traditional, unified, every single level 5 athlete must attend this qualifier. No ifs, ands, or buts. Okay? Sunday, September 30th in Montgomery County, Walter Johnson High School is going to be the required level 4 qualifier. If you have other athletes that want to come, reach out to Natasha, and she will fit your other athletes into their game. If they're not level 4, she said she can open it up to other levels, and that can be their second competition of the season. But please, please, please reach out to Natasha. Don't tell your athletes ahead of time if she can't fit you in. Okay? But all level 4 athletes must attend this qualifier. Okay, the third one we have right now is Sunday, October 7th at Garrison Forest School in Owings Mills, Maryland. Levels offered is 1, 2, 4, and 5, so all levels are offered there. Still working out, but that's possibly going to be the required qualifier for level 2. We're still working out some details with Laura, but right now that's looking like it's going to be the required qualifier for level 2, but they are opening it up to all athletes that are participating in tennis that need a competition. We want everyone to host a qualifier. There's only 5 counties within Special Olympics Maryland tennis. We need qualifiers. So if you have a program, you should be hosting a qualifier. Even if it's an in-house qualifier and you can only invite a couple other teams in, that's fine. Or you can say, I can only have room for 5 doubles in level 5 from other areas. That's fine, as long as you can open it up to other areas. You can send your athletes to qualifiers without you there, as long as there is a responsible chaperone with them. You don't have to be at every one. If someone misses a competition, as long as it's not the required. If they miss the required, they can't go to state. That's a huge thing. Okay. If there's issues with these dates and the required qualifiers, please send me an email immediately, and we'll see what we can figure out. But make sure they go to 2 competitions. Please get us more dates. Okay, we need more competition dates. Again, qualifying for the state tournament is kind of just what I went over. Again, I'm not going to go over this at the same time. I just went over it, so please read through these again. But it's really everything I just went through. Okay, so I had a conversation with one of the coaches today, asking if we really need required qualifiers. With the schedule, it makes it difficult, which I understand. It makes it difficult to get everyone there and all the qualifiers. So using the raise your hand function in your taskbar, please raise your hand right now if you want to keep required qualifiers. I know it's new to tennis. I think this is only maybe the second year that we're having it. Please raise your hand if you want to keep required qualifiers. So go ahead and hit that now. Okay, so it looks like we had 2, maybe 3. Raise your hand if you think we should get rid of the required qualifiers. Okay, it's tied. Okay, so I'm clearing everyone's raising their hand. Let me get some coaches' feedback. So raise your hand if you'd like to explain why you gave your response. Is there anyone that wants to kind of talk? I'd like to talk this through. I do require qualifiers for all my team sports. It's a great way to get all the teams together and all the athletes together that are participating in that one sport. So let's see what you guys want to do. So Nancy, I saw your hand first. Okay, Nancy, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
You should be unmuted. Yes.
Yeah. I'm indifferent on this, even though I raised that I don't want to have qualifiers. It's just because I can't keep doing it, and we've been doing them for longer than 2 years. We've been doing them for at least 5 years of qualifiers.
The required qualifiers or just regular qualifiers?
Required qualifiers, where athletes had to do the 2. You could do it in-house, and then you could do a qualifier in another county. That's my opposition.
No, sorry. So, sorry, let me clarify real fast, Nancy. Let me break in real fast. A required qualifier is where all the athletes from that one level must go to this qualifier. The one specific qualifier plus another one. But it's like yours, we're doing all level 5 athletes everyone in the state from level 5 must go to that qualifier. The other qualifiers.
Okay, so where we separated, you're right. So the last 2 years is where we separated simply because the burden, and the only qualifiers up until last year have been Montgomery County and Howard County. And when you're talking about programs that are growing, which is great news, you're essentially hosting over 100 athletes. It's impossible to do. It is too much of a burden on the county and the local programs to pull off that. That's why we separated it. So. So unless everyone steps up and takes on the qualifying responsibility, I don't want to have qualifiers. Unless it's a mandate on each county program to host some sort of qualifier. Like you said, we have 5 counties participating. It's going to be, someone's going to have a conflict, and I don't want to see a situation where an athlete can't go to if they have a family vacation or a wedding and they can't go to a qualifier, they're disqualified. If we had more people stepping up, we could then have 2 level 5s or level 4 catch-all, and that's kind of what we did last year. So I would support it if we had support throughout the state to do these qualifiers.
Okay. And now, just a clarification, we will not get rid of qualifiers altogether. This is more for the required where we separate it out and mandate they have to go to this one particular one if they're in this level. So there's always going to be qualifiers. Putting that out there. But I'm not going to host. No, and you shouldn't have to happen.
If you have to
and you shouldn't have to put them together.
I think we're saying the same thing. I just think it's too much to think that you can host a qualifier. Irregardless, if we go back to where it's it's not separated by level, and everyone shows up, that's my point. That's too much. It takes 6 hours. It's like having a fall fest all over again.
Right.
and that's the way it used to be. So that's why we separated it to do this. But if we were to take that mandate away, we're going to go back to what the reason we did this. I guess, am I making myself clear? I don't think I'm explaining it. I apologize. I don't think I'm doing a good job of explaining it.
No, I understand. The areas need to step up and host qualifiers, pretty much, right, so the athletes can get more competition. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you, Nancy.
Okay.
Okay, Laura, you should be unmuted.
Yeah. Okay. So I agree. Yes. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, good. I agree with Nancy 100%. But the thing about the required, and this was my issue, we have gotten people to host qualifiers, which is an issue because maybe there may not be enough. And it's like Nancy said, you know, if only a certain number of people do it, then it is like Fall Fest all over again. That's the first issue. The second one that I have with the required is that a lot of these, not only athletes, but also the unified partners, sometimes they're in high school or whatever, and they have to get the two of them together at a specific date. Sometimes they have other obligations, and their school obligations are very important to them because I mean, it's great to put on your resume, and a lot of them, you know, to be a unified partner, but a lot of them really want to do it. But the thing is that to get them at a required one is sometimes very difficult. I mean, that's just really tough. And if they miss that, and then to miss the opportunity because they cannot make that because they have something with their school or they have a prior obligation, and they miss that, and then not to be able to participate in the Fall Festival, I think that counters what Special Olympics is really all about. So that's really my major issue with the required qualifier. I think that if we just have qualifiers and they're able to participate in two, that's huge when you're trying to get that many people together. That's just how I feel about it. I don't know how anybody else feels about it, but I know from my past experience, and Nancy has a ton more than I do. You guys have been in this for a long time. It's just it's sometimes it's very difficult to get them that specific level, and those people that are involved with that specific level, whether they're playing singles or whether they're playing doubles, and or traditional unified partners, I don't care, to get those particular participants available at that specific day is just not always going to happen. So should they be penalized for that and not be able to participate in the Fall Festival? That's really my question. And I have, how does anybody else feel about that?
Well, and that's why I want to get these dates out early so that you can get it to your team as early as possible. So that's why I started reaching out to everyone beginning to mid of July.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that, but I'm just saying that sometimes the schools don't do that. So the unified partners may not be able to be there, and that is a huge issue. So should the athlete be punished for that? That's, you know, because their unified partner cannot be there. Can you have a substitute? No, you can't. Not by the current rules. So correct. So that, I mean, I just think I see that as a possible, you know, possible loophole. I mean, it's just like, you know, how are you going to do that? By you know, if we get enough people to offer qualifiers, then they can usually make at least two. One of them can be in-house, one of them can be someplace else. But if you make one required and a specific athlete or unified partner cannot be there because they have another obligation that they may not have known about through their school or whatever until 3 weeks before, and they absolutely cannot do that, should the athlete be punished? And I think that by not being able to, you know, participate in the Fall Festival, and I think that is a huge question. That's massive, because it kind of counters what we're really trying to do in the first place. So That's the only issue that I have with a required qualifier.
Okay. Thank you. Let's see what everyone else's opinion. Natasha, you are unmuted. Natasha? You might need to unmute your own phone. Going once. Natasha, can you hear me?
And Natasha, you might not have heard Melissa say you might have muted your own phone. So check that, because our records show that your line is open to start speaking.
All right. We'll move on to Barbara. Hold on 1 second. All right.
It looks like Natasha logged out and logged back in, so maybe try her on the second phone line there, Melissa.
Yep. Natasha, can you hear us now?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Oh, we can.
Yes.
Hi.
Yes.
Okay. Hi. Sorry, I'm the worst tech person ever.
Okay.
So I think that I agree with Nancy. It's too much to do one qualifier for all levels. I do agree that it's hard to get everyone on a specific date for, I get what everyone's saying. I think last year we had a catch-all, and I also think we did a good job of talking to each other, saying, okay, well, I have another, if I'm going to do the 4s, and Laura calls and says, I have a couple 3s who can't make it to mine or whomever, I think we did a good job of putting that together and making them qualify. So I think we're going to have to communicate with each other to kind of get those outliers, I guess, who may not be able to come, get them done somehow, if that makes sense. Hello?
Oh, sorry, I muted myself. So I think what I can do is, once I get all the intent forms from everyone, or if you guys want to send me an email with the names and email addresses, I'll make a distribution list and I'll send it out to everyone. And we have it's nice being such a small sport in a way, because we can communicate with each other and just talk to each other. So I think communication is really key in making sure everyone can qualify for this. And we'll do everything we can to make sure everyone does qualify. So that's not an issue. Barbara, you are unmuted.
Hi, I'm from Howard County, and I've worked with Nancy for a few years. And just a reminder, a couple years ago, before we had the required qualifiers, specifically identifying levels, we had open qualifiers where every level was eligible. And 2 years ago, it was really unmanageable because so many people came. Of course, I don't know if there were only 2 qualifiers, Nancy might remember, but there were so many athletes and so many parents, and we were unable to get through all of the competitions. So there needs to be some way to control the population who attends. Even if you don't make them required, somehow you have to control the number. Maybe you limit the first 10 that register for level 4, or the first 15 for skills, but you can't give everything to everybody. There has to be a way to manage.
Yeah, and I think that's where the areas need to step up, and that's why I put the emails. You can say we only have this much room. You can say we're offering all these levels, but we only have this much room for each level. That's completely fine. If whoever registers first gets the spot, that's 100% fine. But that's up to you guys in the areas to know how much room you actually have based on the number of courts and the time you have those courts for. So you have to kind of figure out how many athletes you can accommodate.
Right. And swimming, I don't
and
know
you
if you
can
work,
say no.
yeah, I know. You work with swimming. When we do swimming, we have a large population of Howard County athletes. And so
Yep.
what happens is that they tell us you can only bring 30 athletes. So Montgomery County will say you can only bring 30 of your athletes. Or we
Right.
to our competition, we only invite one county. We'll say, okay, Frederick County, you can come, and Montgomery County, you can send 20. So you have to put
Right.
some parameters around it.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's up to the areas to figure out those parameters. I can't make those up. You guys know better than I do how many you can accommodate. So thank you, Barbara. Laura looks like she raised her hand again. You are unmuted, Laura.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I agree with everything they're saying, and it can get out of hand and unmanageable. So we can do that, but to go back to the required qualifiers, that is really, that's the issue. So the qualifiers I get, and we put parameters on that, which we need to, I'm sure, so that it doesn't get unmanageable. I totally agree with that. So if you want to put a limit on, you have however many people, athletes, unified partners participating, I get that. But the thing is, the required ones, if they don't make the required ones, if the athletes or unified partners cannot make the required ones, what is an alternative? So Natasha suggested, we did a great job, and we did, because there were, they can't always make them. They can't always make them the day that they actually are. So we worked around that, and we found ways that they could play each other, maybe at different areas, whatever, on different days, so that they could at least qualify. But if you make them required and they don't make that, that is the question. So I'm still struggling with that specific question.
So what we'll do is you have to ask for the exemption. If they cannot make it, you have to ask for an exemption for that qualifier, the required one. If that exemption gets approved, and now there's some, they want to go out with their friends, that's not getting approved. You know what I mean? There's some things, yes.
Well, obviously, yeah, I get that.
But there's some reasons that we will excuse that. And if that's the case, we'll say you have to go to this other qualifier. We'll do another catch-all where it makes it up, if that's the case, if you guys really want to get rid of the required qualifiers. So now that everyone understands what the required qualifier means, let's do a show of hands again for those that want to keep the required qualifiers. Okay, and let's do a raise of hands for those that do not want to keep them, who wants to just say you go to 2 competitions and that will qualify you for states. Okay, so I'll talk to my sports management team, and we'll get an answer out to everyone in the next couple of days about what the decision actually is for this. But thank you, everyone, for your feedback. I really do appreciate it. And I want to make sure everyone, for those of you that don't know me, I wanted to keep that open communication. I want to work with you guys. You're the pros at this. For tennis, I've run events, but you guys are the tennis pros. You know your athletes better than anyone. So I do want to work with you the best I can. Okay. Again, I'm not going to go through this. This is all the same stuff as the past couple of years. Ascension competition, you must submit a sanction form and must include ideally 3 or more counties, but in tennis that's a little difficult. Must follow the Special Olympics rules and the USTA rules and have qualified officials there. Okay, that's what makes qualifier. Big things, you have to have medical on site. So read through this, look at this. If you have any questions, let me know. So again, I'm not going to go through this, but it's kind of what we just talked about with the required qualifiers. So read through this. and then send me an email with your thoughts on required qualifiers. The training intent form. So this is what I was talking about. That's going to be due to me on September 10th. Sorry. Complete this. Get it to me by the 10th, and I don't need names. I just need how many of each you are going to have for this year, competing in the competitions and Fall Fest. So this will give us a good idea of how many spots the areas can host and all of that good stuff. So please, I'll send this and attach it to the email when I send out the slides and recording tomorrow. Well, I'm sorry, in the next 48 hours. We'll just say that. This is just kind of an example of how to fill out the form. Okay, so this is all I need. And then what I'll do is I'll combine it all and then send it out to everyone so everyone has an idea of how many competitors and athletes and team counts we actually have. The rules are the same as last year. There have been no new rules printed since last year. So to get this guide, there's the website. This has a lot of good resources for you as coaches. So please take advantage of the rule book and the Special Olympics website. Principal and meaningful involvement. I'm not going to go through all of this, but it's mostly for
Melissa.
Yeah.
This is Mike. If we could pause for just a moment, just
Sure.
to clarify on the rules. Hi, everybody. This is Mike Zarnowski, Vice President of Sports. So as Melissa showed just a moment ago, the rules that are in effect are the 2016 rules for tennis. At some point in the next month or two, we're not sure when, the new rules for 2018 will be coming out. We will not be, since the season is just starting now, we don't believe in changing rules in midstream. And so for that reason, unless there is a health and safety rule change, we won't be utilizing the new rules when they come out for this season. Again, if there is a health and safety rule change, I'm not sure what that would be for tennis, but if there is, we certainly would enforce that and make sure everybody's aware of it. So just wanted to clarify on that so that folks aren't confused when those new rules come out at some unknown point in the next month or two. Thanks.
Thanks, Mike. So the principle of meaningful involvement, again, I'm not going to go through all of this, but its goal and the main reason for it is to ensure that every player is given an opportunity to contribute to the success of his or her team through their skill set. A good thing for like tennis, if it's in doubles, one person, whether it's a unified partner or the athlete, isn't hitting all the balls and they're letting their other teammate hit as well. They're not jumping in front of their other teammate. It's an even, fair level playing field. So read through these. Again, I'm not going to go through all this, but please read through this. It's to ensure that everyone has a positive experience when they play their sport. So here's some more information about it. Please, again, just read through this once I send out the slides. I don't want to take up more of your time by reading each of these slides to you. All right. So the tennis events, we offer level 1, 2, 4, and 5. For levels 2, 4, and 5, we offer singles, doubles, traditional and unified, and mixed doubles, traditional and unified. The intent form will give us a good idea of how many doubles or singles you have for each season. For each level. Big thing right here that I just wanted to point out is we will be using the red ball for level 1 and 2, not the foam ball. So make sure you actually get the red tennis ball, not the foam ball, because that's what we will be using for competitions. Is the red tennis ball, not the foam ball. Okay? It's a very big thing that we need to make sure happens. Again, rule reminders, same as last year, just kind of go through a couple things. I'm not going to read through all these, but please be sure to go through all this. Uniforms, make sure the proper tennis attire is worn. Okay, no one can be in jeans, no one can be in khakis, no denim of any kind. Pockets should be in the shorts and skirts, if the girls want to wear the skirts. It's highly encouraged for them to have the pockets. Tennis shoes are required. Okay, they can't come in boots. They can't come in black-soled shoes. They have to be in proper tennis attire. Okay, doubles teammates must be matching. Okay, if it's a mixed doubles, the male wears shorts, the female can wear shorts, or they can wear the skirt. As long as they're the same color and they match, that's fine. Sweatsuits will not be allowed to be worn unless it's needed for weather conditions. Until then, you cannot wear the sweatsuits over top of your uniforms. Matches. A match will consist of the following. Again, same as last year. This has not changed. We'll use the no ad scoring with a margin of 2 games with a 7-point tiebreak played. Again, same as last year. The no ad scoring system, like I just mentioned, will be used for all match play. The first player to win 4 points wins that game. The 7th point of a game is game point for each player. The player rating system, that's what we talked about before. Coaching on the court. You are allowed to have one coach on the court. They have to be in the designated chair, which will be on the other side across from the scorekeeper. The only time you can coach is at the end when the players change sides. The only time you can coach, or if there's, coach may not coach after the first game of each set and not during the tiebreak game. The coach may coach the player when the player changes ends at the end of an odd game. The wording's a little weird, but you guys all know when you can and cannot coach. You can't coach during the middle of the game. Can't coach during the middle of sets, all that. Please respect this. If not, we're going to have to, there's a chance that your player could get disqualified. Please don't do anything to hurt your players. I know you're just trying to help them with the coaching. Do it only when you're allowed. Tiebreak procedures. When 2 or more athletes or teams have the same final point score, this is how we're going to determine the tiebreak. Again, I'll say it again, this has not changed, but I want to make sure it's out there. The first way to break a tie is the fewest number of sets lost in all of the total matches for the day. Okay, whoever lost the fewer amount of sets. If it's tied, then you go to the most games won. A third, if they're still tied after games won, the fewest number of games lost in all the matches. And finally, if all those 3 are still a tie, go to head-to-head results. So resources, obviously we have the coaches' online training as well as the Special Olympics.com or .org, sorry. On the tennis page, there's videos, there's resources. Use it. It's a great resource for you. All right. Before I go into the administrative section about the paperwork. Are there any questions? You can raise your hand and we can unmute you if there are any questions of anything we've gone through. All right. Greta, you are unmuted.
Hey, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. Hey, I had a question. I mean, this is only my second year, so sorry for not really contributing to your first discussion. But I wanted to ask the other coaches about the level 5 singles players, because I felt like last year there were like different levels of level 5 players. There happened to be like really skilled level 5 players and level 5 players that just didn't have that same level of court coverage, but were still a level 5. So I just didn't know if we were considering, who they're playing in terms of like their level 5 players.
Okay, would anyone like to step in? I will mention that within each level, there are going to be divisions. So we're going to pair them up in the division with other athletes there as close as we can. Their skill level.
So I think I remember like I was working with somebody just about how one of our certain players was a level 5, but they were like they don't play with the green ball, they play with the yellow ball, so that's why they're a level 5 player, and they can hit the ball and they are considered a level 5 player, but that level of court coverage that they have, their reaction time is not as fast, or whatever it is. I just know that we were working together to make sure that they were playing comparable players.
Yeah, and I will be doing that again this year. Just because they're in level 5 doesn't mean they're at the same level in level 5.
Right.
So we will have divisions within there that they'll only play against, to the best of our ability, obviously.
Right.
Other athletes their same ability level.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Any other questions?
I don't see any.
Okay. If there's any comments about anything I've said, feel free to speak up as well. All right, so we're going to go through some registration forms again. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. Review it once I send the slides out, but it is something that I want to go through to ensure that everyone has the proper paperwork in. I said this in the beginning, no athlete or volunteer in any manner can participate without a valid medical or volunteer application. If it's not in when they start, if it's not in and it's not correct, they cannot participate until it's correct. Okay? This is a huge thing. In no way, shape, or form can they participate without a valid medical or volunteer application. This is huge. That also includes you coaches. If you don't have your volunteer application in, it's good for 3 years. But if you're not up to date, you cannot participate as well. Okay? This is very, very important. There are no exemptions to this policy right here. Work with your area leadership to make sure all paperwork is submitted. The health and athletes. This is for the health and safety of our athletes. Okay? Again, athletes need to have the proper paperwork, considered to be a valid medical. Everything needs to be completed. So this is page 1. And when you get it, or if they give it to the area directors, make sure if this is reviewed before it gets sent down to the state office, because then it's just going to take longer. We do have people that review it, but please review it before you send it down, because if there is something, it's easier for you to get it back to them right away than sending it down to us, waiting for us to check it, then sending it back saying this and this is wrong. Do your due diligence and make sure everything is correct. Okay? Page 2, page 3. Make sure everything is completed, signed, dated, licensed, everything with the doctor. Make sure they complete it before they leave the doctor's office. Page 4 and page 5, which is just, it's a waiver form, but this is a very big thing that they got to make sure they have to, or medical isn't valid. Okay? Same thing with volunteers. Must have all the paperwork in. If they're under the age of 18, their paperwork does not expire until they turn 18. So make sure you have that paperwork if they turn 18. They cannot submit a new form until their 18th birthday, because that's when we can put them through the background checks. If they're younger than 18, we don't put them through the background checks, but they still need to complete all the forms. So that's a huge thing to remember, because I know now of our Unified partners are 18. So if they completed a form when they were 14, it's good until their 18th birthday. Okay? If you're 18 or above, then it's good for 3 years. So coach has to have Class A volunteer application and the background check, must do protective behaviors. And the protective behaviors in Class A is for Unified partners and coaches. So Unified partners have to do the protective behaviors as well, so that they can be certified. Coaches also have to do online coaches concussion training. You are not eligible unless you've completed that as well. And then the coach's sports certification. We are having a coach sports certification, which I'll show on another slide, an in-person one this Sunday at JTCC in College Park. Everyone should go. Even if you got certified last year, still a great opportunity to come, because there's going to be different things that you can learn. This is page 1 of the volunteer application. Everything must be completed. Okay, everything filled out. And now, Mike, correct me if I'm wrong. Social Security number. That's better because you can get a better background check.
Social Security number. Don't bother putting it in. You do definitely have to. The person definitely has to answer the 5 questions or 6 check boxes down at the bottom of that page. But Social Security number is not required, and actually it's probably best not to put it in.
Great, thank you. Page 2 of the volunteer application, make sure you read it. Sign date. If they're under 18, make sure they have parent or guardian signature at the bottom as well. If they are 17 and under, this is an additional form that they must fill out. Okay, this is the student minor reference form. So if they were under 17 and under, they must complete those 2 prior pages as well as this. Without those 3, it's not a valid application. Tech behaviors, there's the link right here. Everyone, volunteers, coaches, Unified partners, everyone must have protective behaviors. I have to do it every 3 years. So do you. Okay? Make sure that's complete, or again, you're not completely certified and you cannot coach. Coaches, all coaches, head coach, assistant coach, everyone has to have the concussion training. These are 2 easy online courses that you can take, one or the other. They're both self-paced, which is nice. Go to one of these, and when you have completed it, you send it to the coaches at SOMD.org, and we will get it into GMS and update your profile. Just so you know, once you complete it, you have to save the certification, the certificate saying that you passed, to send it in. We do not get notifications saying that you completed this. This is not one of our websites. We do not get notified once you complete this. So that's a huge thing. A lot of people say they complete it, but then they don't have the certification, their certificate. Please make sure you turn in that certificate. Incident report. If you have any kind of incident, injury, behavioral issue, any kind of incident at all at practice or qualifiers, competitions, anything, you must complete this form. You send it to your area director, who in return sends it to the state office so that we have a copy of it. Please make sure this is actually fully completed with the witnesses, any information with the description of the accident. Please make sure you go into detail, okay? any incident, sprained ankle, twisted ankle, anything, to a broken leg, broken arm, whatever, any kind of incident, please fill one of these out and send it in. More about the coach's certification. Sorry, I obviously did not put these in the best order. Valid for 3 years. All head coaches need to go through this. All coaches should go through it. Again, same thing. These are just examples of the courses. But again, here we go. On this Sunday, August 12th at JTCC in Prince George's County in College Park, we will have a coaches training start at 1 o'clock. It's the same time as the athlete clinic. The athletes will be on the court with the JTCC pros, and we'll have our technical delegate, Jeff Abel, who most of you know, if not all of you. I think he did a coaches training within the last year or two. He's going to be on the sideline with another JTCC pro, most likely, answering any questions, going through the different drills, and doing a coaches training there for you. Like I said, even if you got certified last year, it does not hurt to go back because it's going to be different information, possible different drills. It's going to be a great way to speak with each other as coaches and give tips and hints on what works for you, what doesn't work for you. It's a great outlet to get these ideas from other coaches as well as the tennis pros as well. There's also, you can go to the USTA and do an online coaches training as well. If you do this online course, you need to send me something saying that you passed, and I'll get you up to date. But I have to have something in writing from the USTA. If you get some kind of certificate, anything like that, I have to have that to secure that you actually passed it. There's also our ASAP courses. You can see there's 2 tennis courses, coaching youth tennis and coaching tennis technical and tactical skills. You can see the price, and you can also see that Special Olympics will pay either all of it or part of it, depending on the cost. So please look at these. If you take one of the ASAP courses, you can't come on Sunday, or you prefer to take one of these instead, that's fine. If you decide to take the ASAP course and you want to get reimbursed for up to $20, you need to send the receipt showing that you paid as well as the certificate showing that you passed. Both need to be sent to me to get that reimbursement. Finish out the webinar. Coach's Code of Conduct. Again, I'm not going to read through these slides, but please read through them. The Coach's Code of Conduct is very important. We're going to be a little more strict on it than we have been in the past. You just respect everyone, Unified Partners, other coaches, athletes. Be respectful, be that role model for the athletes as a coach and what they should be. But read through this in the next couple of slides, the next slide about the Coach's Code of Conduct, and we'll be good to go. Before we go, and I want to finish up because it is almost 8 o'clock, are there any last questions before we end here? Okay, so it doesn't look like anyone is raising their hand or asking any questions. So I'm going to say thank you very much for joining us tonight, taking time out for this hour. I'm really excited about being involved in tennis this year. Again, please bear with me. I am new to tennis. I am still learning, but I'm going to do my best, and I look forward to working with each and every one of you. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me, and I will get back to you. Have a good night, and I will see everyone soon.